Hello, good morning. Welcome to FFS live stream. We are Fringe Festival Support. We are a community project to try and bring performers and workers here at the festival together and get everyone to like each other a little bit more and stop hating each other. We've got a different opening today because I want to explain what's going on here. This is Claire Hill. Hello, Claire.
Hello.
It's difficult for her to talk and type at the same time. Claire is what's the official title?
Stenographer.
Stenographer. And Claire live captions shows at the Fringe. Literally as I am talking and as I'm pausing, she stops. But while I'm talking, she's actually literally live doing it. So she's going to be live captioning the show today. We're going to move over to our other set in a moment in a seamless move. And I'm just suddenly wondering whether Claire's getting all of these ums, because I'm aware that I do a lot of umming and ahhing. It's all working fine. Welcome to FFS. Hi there! So we've now moved over to our other spot and we have our guests with us. Just to do a little bit of housekeeping, because first show yesterday, it was only a preview, a little bit of nerves, forgot to mention any contact details or where you can find us or anything. So that's all here somewhere. We'll work that out later. Yeah, do get in touch, let us know, ask us questions, we can pass on to the guests. We'll do our best to deal with it. So, no further ado, and I hate that phrase. We have two guests with us today. We have Mr. Alun Cochrane.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good,
How are you?
Very well. How long have you been up here? You've been setting yourself up?
What day is it?
Exactly.
Friday. It's Friday morning. I came up on Wednesday morning, I think. Yeah.
Quick
No, that
technical?
can't be right.
Straight in the
Tuesday
previews?
morning. Must have been Tuesday morning. Yeah, I did a tech on the day I arrived, and then Wednesday, Thursday gigs. So here we are, 2 gigs in.
Mm-hmm. Going well so far?
Exciting. Yeah. It's a hot room though, but that's I think part and parcel of being at the Edinburgh Festival and at the Pleasance particularly. Although there is a fan that they haven't plugged in yet.
Okay. Well,
don't get me started. Trying not to moan about it.
And we also have Cat Loud with us. Hi, how you doing?
Nice.
Yeah.
How are you?
How long have you been here? You've been here a while. Because you live here.
I live here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very rare thing to find a guest that
I
actually
know.
resides here.
I know.
We all think it's like Edinburgh only appears like once a year in August.
It did for me for about 9 years, and then I just decided to move. So,
And
yeah,
you love it here?
I do.
You've done a lot of Fringes before. How many is this?
So this year marks a decade of
Decade.
the Fringe. I took 1 year out, but we don't talk about it.
And just to explain, you're a singer.
I am.
Is that how you identify? Is that on your passport?
It is now, yes.
Yeah.
I believe the term is vocalist.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It
Good
is.
to know.
Very nice.
It-
And you're doing a short run here at the festival this year?
I am, yeah. I'm doing just 3 nights of my own show, and then I'm part of another show at the end of the festival.
And you're seeing everyone else's show?
In between, of course.
All
yeah.
of them?
Yeah.
Why are you just doing
Fly
3
around.
if you live here?
I know. I know.
Still can't afford
It's
it.
right on the doorstep.
I know. I just want to live.
Oh, wow. What must that be like?
So we are sponsored by we're supported by the Mental Health Foundation. If anyone does want to sponsor us, then do please get in touch. But we're supported by the Mental Health Foundation. We try and bring people together and talk about all sorts of things Fringe, mostly bad experiences. We like to interview very experienced people who've done it all of it, and encourage people that are maybe first or second timers that everybody has a bad time to begin with, and maybe even still. I mean, your fan issue. That sounds like a deal breaker, really.
Oh no. I would hate to seem like I was moaning about that. I think
Of course not.
It's really useful to keep it all in context and remember that outside of this city, people are just getting on with stuff, and I try my best to gently remind myself of that. But also, I've got so many years in the game. I'm such a seasoned old hack.
You're
That it's
15 years?
my first solo show was in 2004, so yeah.
How did that go?
Really well, and since then I've been on a gradual decline career-wise. No, it was good. I'd been a stand-up for a little while before coming up, so I was in good shape, and I had a few things go in my favour, so I got a really good write-up in the List magazine in the first week.
Nice.
And that sort of thing. Like, I got 5 stars on the front page of the comedy section of the List,
That works.
and the show sold out, and then I got nominated for the newcomer, and so it made quite a big impact. But as I say, it has been a gradual decline career-wise.
Why do you think everything's gone so horribly wrong?
It's gone terribly. It's gone really terribly. In fact, if you are supported by the mental health people, it's probably a bad idea to catastrophise, isn't it?
I'll get them to give you a ring.
No, I'm very resistant to catastrophising. Actually, I really struggle to join in with that sort of woe is me catastrophising. I'm increasingly interested in Stoicism, which if you are on your first or second Fringe, I would recommend all of you to buy some Stoic philosophy and get stuck in, because it's really, really useful. I find it very pragmatic.
And you learn from like the adversity.
Well, I don't even think it's... I do think it's somewhat exaggeration to say that coming up to the Fringe and being part of the biggest arts festival in the world is genuine adversity. Like, I think, you know, if you look at the global population, the people participating in this Fringe are still some of the luckiest people on earth. It's actually ridiculous to stick your head up your arse that much that you think a bad review is the end of the world.
Yeah.
And it's worth contextualising that.
And I think for some people it doesn't get any better. Like, they still think that, like, no matter how experienced you are. I always recommend that those people like go the raw mile and just like walk down there. And I know it's but if you actually walk down the mile and you see people who are like just out of university, and there's, you know, teams of them flying, they're so excited. It's like oh yeah, I remember when like genuine enthusiasm was just like, I'm just really excited to be here.
Yeah.
Before it was all just so much work.
A friend of mine directed a student show last year, and I went to see it and it was good, and he said one of the hardest things for him was, as like a very seasoned actor and director of festival shows, was trying to convince these quite green students before the Fringe that people might not come.
Right.
And they were going, oh, we'll just give away free tickets, and he was like, even if you do that, people might not come. They still might not. And it's such a different world that these young people couldn't quite get it until they were here.
Yeah. There's always that nice moment when you get the catalogue, like when the brochure comes through first, and so you immediately rush through to find your listing, and you're like, oh yeah, there I am, and then you go, who are all these other people?
Yeah, 3 million other shows on a day or something stupid.
Yeah, I hope they're not doing anything unfair, like flyering or marketing.
Yeah, or being famous.
Yeah, that's gonna,
Yeah, that's the worst.
it's gonna really push them to the front. How have you been for shows in the past? Have you had?
Well, when I say I've done a decade of the Fringe, I started doing a student show, and I was really excited to be here. And we did like a week of just solid drinking.
Excellent.
And it was great.
I'll come see that.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was like the show. We were all so excited to be here and doing it for the first time. And it was mad. We stayed in like a Buddhist retreat out by the Botanics that we couldn't like speak in because it had to be quiet. And it was very, very odd. So we would just stay out as long as possible. So we would just go to the pub after the show.
Good for balance, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Drinking and then being silent.
Yeah, we made it work.
Yin yang of life.
And it was like me and some of my best friends. So that was my first experience. And then after that, I did reviewing for my sins. I worked in venues, and then I've been a performer for 5 years. 4 years.
You've done it all.
5, yeah. So 2014, I was just finishing up a master's in theatre and was part of a show and writing my thesis at the same time. And I would stay in the flat during the day and work in the cupboard because there was nowhere else to work, and then go and do the show in the afternoon. And then I started making my own work. So I guess saying a decade is quite unfair because I haven't been performing for that length of time. But I've had the whole spectrum of Fringe experiences in those 5 years, I think.
So you're ideally placed to give us the skinny on where where we should all be going. Well, not all of us, obviously, because that would be ridiculous. But
Yeah.
where should we be hanging out? You've told me in the past you have a secret cry spot.
I do. Well, I think I can give it away now. I feel like it's time to bequeath it to other people.
I mean, we don't need to name the exact location.
It's a very high-profile graveyard. That's all I'm going to say.
No names.
Yeah. And there's a Greg's round the corner. And my tradition was to get a steak bake and have a cry. And by the time I'd finished crying, it would be the perfect temperature to eat.
Oh, nice.
So that was the reward for the catharsis. Was not molten lava. Yeah.
And that's the process.
Yeah.
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 You could get a McDonald's pie as well, and then
You could.
that would still be hot now.
Yeah, you could.
Weeks
Although
later.
I think if I did that now with a 3-show run, it would be a bit more self-indulgent than normal. So I'm not going to be doing that this year.
And where's good to eat?
Greg's.
I did say we're looking for sponsors, but we really don't need to.
I feel the usual. Actually, my favourite place is shut down, so I can't even talk about that. My house is good to eat now.
Yeah,
You're
everybody,
inviting people.
off you go.
There's nothing in my fridge. It's going to be very disappointing.
Alan, where do you hang out?
Oh,
Where's your address? Where do people find you?
well, yeah, if anything, I somewhat retreat during the festival. So sometimes I'm a bit guilty of too much solitude. So what I need to do is go the other way and go, oh, who's doing what? Let's go for lunch. So I quite often send texts to comedians that I know are the sort of people that are always doing, saying, if you're going to see anything, invite me. So I'm quite a good tag-along person during the festival, but I'm not a huge, like, hey guys, let's go and see this, or let's have a look. So I try to just find those comics that are very upbeat and always about and doing stuff. And not as introverted as me, and I'll just follow them around and then go, right, I'm out.
I'm excited.
But yeah, there's loads of good eateries in Edinburgh. That's the other thing, isn't there? That, like, particularly this year, it feels like everywhere is a really good coffee shop.
Yeah.
Every second doorway is a really good coffee shop. So it's a fantastic city for a giant arts festival. So you're sort of spoiled for choice, aren't you?
I mean, we're delighted that this place isn't actually a coffee spot anymore. This one's closed down.
Oh, was it one?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, really?
So now we're able to film in it. It's fantastic. And it's a good time to drop the fact that it's called the Respite Room, and it's at Fringe Central. And they've got a whole programme of events that you can pick up the brochure. Lots of different things to help you through. When you registered to be in the brochure, which is what people think they're paying their money for, you also get entitled to all of these fantastic services. So I recommend thoroughly that you, we'll give you a brochure.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And you can do your printing, that's fine.
Really?
Yeah,
Who knew?
yeah. Printing, internet cafe, guillotines, staplers, all you need to
I come
stick
for
your 5-star
guillotines,
reviews
to be
on
honest.
flyers.
Yeah.
Bean
I
bags.
don't even have reviews, I just like guillotine and stuff.
Like guillotine.
Yeah.
Bean bags, lots of bean bags. Yeah. And there's some like nice quiet
Tempting.
dark spots as well where you can just sort of
Cry.
crawl into a corner.
Yeah.
What is it with the crying? I mean, just do a better show.
You tell her. Finally, somebody had to say
Just
it.
do it in the
I
light.
don't know your work.
Just show people your flaws. Carry on.
Reviews. How do you approach that? Do you read them? Do you ignore them? Do you have someone to filter
When you're
them?
your own producer, you don't have a choice, I don't think. You have to be on top of it so that if you get a good one, you're talking about it so that people know to come see your show. And bad ones. I got a really bad review the second solo show that I did, and one of my bandmates did a review of the review for me.
Nice.
And that made me feel a lot better.
What nonsense this is.
No, he actually critiqued the writing of the review.
Right.
So,
Editing the grammar. And
yeah, there were a lot of emojis in there as well. It was great. It was great, and that made me feel a lot better.
No Oxford comma, 4 stars.
Yeah.
I stopped reading them a long time ago. But I can't say that I was unaffected by them. I think they do sting. But there's a really important thing that they are largely bollocks. Like, I don't even know what the language constraints are on this, but I did I had a wake-up moment quite early, but still quite a while before I stopped reading them. In 2005, I did a show, and 2 journalists came on the same night. One who'd given me 5 stars the year before, and they sat and watched the same show, and one of them gave it a 3 and the other gave it a 5. But the one that gave it a 3 was the one who was disappointed because I couldn't match the year before, which was always predictably. Yeah. But I remember thinking, that sort of tells me something. And then another year, a journalist sent message through that I'd been reviewed but had a star knocked off, or that they'd changed the, and you end up thinking, I can't really control this. And then there was a year where I knew that what I considered as like a joke on the way to a joke, I can't even remember what I was talking about, let's say my kitchen, and on the way to the jokes about my kitchen, I was talking about having a favourite gas ring to cook on, and saying, it used to be back left, but then we moved house and now it's front right, whatever silly nonsense it was. And loads of the press picked up on it as like, oh, he does this great bit about his favourite gas ring. And I was going, no, that's not the bit. The bit's about the kitchen. It's a joke on the way to the joke. And then I realised that they were responding to it a bit differently, and then I was doing it a bit differently. I thought, it might be better off to not know that this has been picked up on, so that I can just do the jokes into sort of the void, as it were. And so I stopped reading them, and it's still quite difficult to completely avoid it, because occasionally you will meet not particularly benign comedians, and they'll go, oh God, I saw that you got 2 stars, and you go, I don't read them. But I do think it's better to not read them. I think it's actually, I can't control them. I don't think they're for me. I think they're for people that haven't seen the show or made the show. And I think there's a sort of a filter change if you go, oh, this is for other people. It's not actually a letter to the artist, because the artist, I think, knows the flaws in the show better than a person who's seen it once.
Yeah. Although what I will say, I'm of the Twitter, and I follow a lot of comedians and a lot of reviewers and writers. And there was one reviewer, and I cannot remember her name, and she was, I don't think she's here. Well, no, I don't think she's here at the festival, but she was talking about, I think there's a real artistry to criticism. But I think what she was saying is that you find the reviewers or the publications that suit your demographic and suit your work, and then those are the opinions that will matter in the sense that they'll appeal to the people who need to see your show and help you improve your work if the criticism is fair, which if it's someone you respect, then it will be fair. I have a problem with reviewers who take tickets and don't come, and I have a problem with reviewers who are writing for the purpose of getting free tickets, so then it's not about the artistry of the response to the show. And I have a problem with writers who go to shows and clearly don't understand it, but don't say, I shouldn't have reviewed this show, send somebody else, and just give a bad review. Because I do think it's really important. If I see an artist who gets a bad review, and I love that artist and know that review to be incorrect, so I'm just slapping my mic in passion, I think it's really important to challenge those reviews publicly, and link up with other people who've reviewed that particular person or show positively, to challenge those points. But that is also coming from somebody who spends a lot of time on social media, so I try to use it for good. But yeah, no, I think because I've had some really wonderful reviewers come to my show who I now really like as people and are really big champions of my work, and I'm very grateful for that. And they don't always necessarily review it positively, but I respect their opinions, because I've built that relationship. And at the same time, there are publications that I don't necessarily
list them.
Invite.
Name them.
No.
What do people do? Lick the pen? And I don't know why that happens. Yeah, it's interesting. We had a review that I wasn't especially pleased about at one point, and obviously you go immediately hunting to find out everything about that person's life and where they come from. It turned out to be the gardening correspondent at the paper, because there are no. I mean, comedy's slightly different because there's lots of bloggers who are looking to get free tickets for comedy, and there's still people writing. But like in terms of theatre, like all the major publications have cut down the amount of reviewers that they've got so much.
Yeah.
It's like the actual amount of people you could say that's a genuine like theatre critic is very minimal.
Yeah. And also the festival is so huge that you have to rely on volunteers.
Yeah.
Otherwise you
Oh,
will
yeah.
only cover a tiny percent of it.
So they're all scum. We've decided, no, we're not.
Well, actually, it's quite useful to look at the man in the arena speech. Have you seen the man in the arena speech? It's not the critic who counts. I think it's Teddy Roosevelt, but it's brilliant, and it's actually a popular excerpt of quite a long speech. But he talks about it's not the critic that counts. It's not the man that criticises. It's the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is tarred with, dust and blood or whatever it is like. But it's properly. It really captures like, I'm having a go at doing the thing, and this person's sat. I think he calls them these cold and timid souls, and you go, well, that's nailed it for me. That'll do. It's quite a useful reminder. Yeah. So I would recommend anybody to Google the man in the arena speech.
I think it's really nice. Like social media, it does bring together like all of the ecosystem. First siren, that's good.
Comedy, please.
We're not here for you, don't worry.
I'm wondering what that's going to look like on the stenography. Sounds of sirens in background could cause a panic. Yeah, all of those people are kind of now talking to each other. I think that's good because I think.
And challenging each other.
Yeah, and in the past, I think performers have kind of there's been a very big dividing line between them. It's like they're the enemy, like the press are the enemy, and like they're not. They're really not. They're just nice, and generally most of them will. If you challenge something, you challenge a fact.
Yeah.
You can't challenge their opinion. That's their opinion. It's just one person's opinion. It's just unfortunate that if it's a critic that's in, and you have an audience of 50 people who all go mad for it, and then the critic writes a kind of 3-star review, it's like it was a terrible show because they only gave it 3-star. You instantly forget all of the people that loved it.
But also 3 stars isn't a bad review.
No, of course not. It's average.
It's fair, I think.
So you're big on social media. You're not on social media.
Practically non-existent on there.
Keeping under the radar.
I've got a reluctant Instagram, but I feel like any day I could delete that.
A reluctant Instagram.
Yeah, but
Instagram.
I made an executive decision to not join Twitter because I think it's just full of people arguing, and I don't really love arguing. And also, to me, it feels a little bit like giving the whole world your email address for them to tell you that they don't like you. And I just think I couldn't control that if I joined it, but if I don't join it, I've controlled the controllables. So I mean, I look at Twitter, but even as a sort of anonymous spectator of Twitter, I find that the time that I spend on there, my mood lowers.
It's like opening the Ark at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think it's healthy, and I don't think as a society we've quite yet realised that Twitter outrage is a tiny proportion of the actual population. So I don't think we've really. A comic said to me that like the BBC still haven't realised that a Twitter storm is the equivalent of 3 angry letters in the 80s, that one of which got read out on points of view and the rest got put in the bin.
Yeah,
and now
angry of. Is it
Tunbridge Wells or something.
Wells,
yeah. But so I deliberately didn't go on there because I felt like, if I go on there, I'll get dragged in. And also, there's just I have a natural reluctance to join in, and it felt a bit like joining in, which is both, it's a good and a bad thing to not join in. I don't think I'll end up an artsy, but I also might miss out on a few good nights out. So I think it is. Like, I wouldn't really like that blurred line between. Like, I don't want to be pals with critics. I want them to be other from me, and maybe it's different.
I mean, not necessarily pals, but I think it's quite interesting to like see the opinions, see that they're human, see how their mind works, and like have them justify themselves.
But also, when I say there's an artistry-to criticism, a lot of the time I'm reading reviews of shows I'll never get to see,
Right.
because they're in London, or abroad, or just too expensive. So I'm living vicariously through someone else's opinion.
Right.
And if the review is well enough written, then you can enjoy it as an opinion of something that you haven't seen. So it's like seeing it through someone's lens. It's like history, really.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like recounting a football match to somebody who
Yeah.
missed it.
Yeah.
You won't believe it. You should have been there.
Yeah, exactly.
This happened.
Yeah. And it takes a good writer to do that properly, I think.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not like a staunch defender of critics, because I enjoy it when people call out critics.
Right.
And I really enjoyed James McAvoy. Did anyone see that?
I don't know what
He
that
read
is.
a review of, was it Peter Gynt by Quentin Letts? And there was a line in it where he was like talking about an actor relieving the audience from the whining Scottish accents. And James McAvoy went to town, and it was great.
Well, he would. He's a whining Scotsman.
Oh, you shut up.
I kid. Please, James, keep watching. Yeah, I like that thing about like it's like giving the world your email address, because
Yeah.
you see a lot of comics that are like they'll be on like Mock the Week, and that will just open like a whole like 48-hour period with reruns where people just go, they're not funny. What are they doing on there?
Yeah.
And that's really nice for a first-time comic going on a big show like that to really come home pumped, turn on Twitter and find out that like 5 people really hated them.
I'm
Yeah.
personally very disappointed in how little attention I get on Twitter. So
Right.
it's not as bad as that. But
Well, even that, maybe I'm some kind of weird alien, but
no.
I find the idea, maybe this is learned over the years, but I find the idea of giving away the control, the dials of your own happiness, just so foolish. I don't understand, and it must be, maybe I've done it too much, perhaps, like I used to Twitter search and Google myself. Last year in my show I had a line that I wouldn't ever search myself on Twitter or Google anymore. What was it? I used to think I was my own worst critic, but that was before the internet was in such wide usage. Turns out I was going very gently on myself all those years. But that's how it feels. Like you think, oh, I did a good set on whatever it was, McIntyre's thing. I'll have a look at what people are saying, and then you get misquoted and people are saying that you're a terrible comic and a terrible person. I once saw somebody on Twitter, a journalist I think, discussing with another person why a friend of mine is my friend when we're so different comedically. And you go, that feels a bit out of bounds. Like, our friendship isn't like part of my public persona. And then I thought, it's probably better to never do this again, because I can't control what people are saying about me, so why don't I just let it happen, and I'll take the dials of my own happiness. If what I need is to, eat a salad or do some exercise or read, I'll do that instead. That seems much more, not that I've got all the answers, but I feel like I'm not giving away the levers on my own happiness as much as I used to.
Well, I mean, seeing as you don't have all the answers, give us all the answers.
Yeah.
So, how do you get through the Fringe? What are you got like little tips?
I did notice one year that it's quite a good idea, I think, to pay attention to what makes you feel quite perky. And on several years, I've come up with like the wrong book. Like, this sounds really ridiculous, but I realised I'm quite chipper if I've got like a pacey thriller that I'm reading.
Okay.
So I brought up 3 of those Ian Rankin Rebus novels, and just like having a good book on the go makes me feel like my happiness number is slightly higher than lower. So that sort of stuff, like making sure that you're getting fresh air and eating and not staring at a screen where people are slagging you off all the time, is, for me, avoiding reviews, not hanging around with negative comics, not drinking actually is useful, but it's not for everyone.
Drinking lots of water and staying hydrated, which I also forgot to say. That's our absolute slogan, and I
Is it?
completely forgot to say it yesterday. Yeah, water is so important.
I'm not sure, is it?
Jade Adams came on and did a 3-hour TED talk about why exactly scientifically you need to like drink. I think it was something like 6 litres of water.
Yeah.
What's the science
Four-
background?
Absurd amount.
4 litres of water.
What's a science background? Because I think you could get away with like 3 glasses of water a day.
If
I
I'm
don't think
feeling
you
like
need that. I
lethargic
think,
and sad, I'll have some water and I feel better.
right.
I think it was important for the
Well, that's the
voice
science
as well. It's
bit.
like because Jade does a lot of singing in her acts. I don't think this year, but in previous years, and I think that's probably more important for singers.
Right.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Just a couple of dry crackers before you, just before you go on.
Yeah.
Trying to talk through that. Tips: you can't have the water thing. We've covered that.
I feel like I'm maybe not the best person to say that now because I live here, because I would say try to find some routine
Yeah.
and normality, even if you get up at the same time every day, and let yourself get up later if you're tired, and not push yourself to follow a firing schedule, and try to live a normal life, which is very difficult when the Fringe is a month of Saturday nights.
Yeah.
So, and you will always feel like you're missing out on something.
I mean, this
But-
time last year we were saying,
yeah.
and I mean, even last year it was dodgy, but we were saying, keep an eye on the outside world, what's happening on the outside world.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's
Keep
going to work
things
for
in
me this year, to be
perspective.
honest.
Yeah.
But things like, it's a good reminder of that actually, because I
Yeah.
need to do my fantasy football team.
Yeah.
Because it starts tonight,
Yeah.
which you completely forget about.
Yeah.
Right.
Football's beginning. That's the first time we've had a football mention on this show. Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming in and having a chat. You're going to go off and
Yeah.
you've got your shows coming up.
Tonight. Yeah, tonight.
Yeah, I'm on it
Yeah.
tonight, 9:20
At the Pleasance.
at the Pleasance Cabaret Bar in the courtyard.
Nice.
So it's a first foray into a big boys league room for me, I think,
Table
to a certain
tennis.
extent.
Are you going to do some cabaret instead of your usual like downbeat comedy
It's
business?
very downbeat, actually. I'm glad you realised that.
Going to do some
I
songs?
didn't know you were aware of my work.
I know the oeuvre.
Uh-huh.
Oeuvre. Tick.
Yeah.
Fringe bingo. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye bye. That was a terrible ending.
Do it again.